Man, this movie. It's just too much.
Yeah, the writers are on the set. These are twisted minds to come up with stuff like what we just saw. Do you fear
what's
them?
their deal?
Yeah.
There's more killing in this movie than I think any movie I've ever seen.
If one morning you woke up and discovered the world around you was just a perfectly staged theatre where news was a script, memories were artificial products, and freedom was merely a pre-installed illusion in your mind, what would you do? The 1980s was a time when cinema dared to cross the boundary between fantasy and madness. While Reagan's America preached morality and order, filmmakers chose to swim against the tide, crafting dystopian worlds where humans were devoured by their own civilization. Some films dared to laugh in the face of authority. Some showed the president collapsing on screen. Some made entire theatres faint from violence too real. And some works were suppressed, mutilated, or buried deep in archives solely because they touched fears society tried to avoid. But those images didn't die. They lingered like memories erased by mistake, like prophecies of a future we are now stepping into. These are the 10 most controversial sci-fi films of the 1980s. 10 cinematic bombs that once shook Hollywood and made the world shudder when they realized sometimes the scariest thing in a film is reality itself. 10. The Thing, 1982. Cinema history once saw a film banned for being too horrifying, believed to be unbearable for audiences. Do you know which one? That's exactly what happened with The Thing, John Carpenter's misunderstood horror masterpiece. When it premiered in 1982, it caused such global panic that many countries enforced censorship or outright bans, claiming it could cause collective mental disturbance. The story unfolds in the icy desolation of Antarctica, where howling winds, snow, and endless isolation stretch on. A group of researchers discovers an alien creature frozen for thousands of years and unwittingly awakens it. The monster doesn't attack loudly. It creeps, mimics, blends into humans, taking over their bodies without anyone knowing. From that moment, hell begins. Everyone suspects everyone. Anyone could be it. Kurt Russell as MacReady becomes the center of the nightmare. In freezing rooms and trembling torchlight, every glance is steeped in fear. No one is a teammate anymore, just creatures waiting to see who transforms first. Carpenter didn't just make a monster movie. He made a film about human fear of one another. That's what made The Thing dangerous. It spoke a truth no one wanted to hear, that survival instincts can turn humans into monsters faster than any other species. Rob Bottin's effects pushed boundaries to the extreme, flesh exploding human heads, sprouting legs, bodies twisting into unimaginable shapes. Too real, too terrifying. Audiences fainted, fled, and theatres received hundreds of complaint calls. Germany and the UK demanded the most gruesome scenes be cut, while many countries refused distribution, citing psychological harm to the public. Upon release, The Thing flopped, earning just $19.6 million against a $15 million budget, as audiences were still enchanted by E.T.'s gentle glow and unready to face their own darkness. But time brought justice. The Thing rose again, becoming one of the greatest horror films ever, a symbol of skepticism and isolation in the modern era. Are banned films always the ones that tell the truest stories? Share your perspective, and don't forget to like if you agree. 9. Escape from New York, 1981. The film revolves around a story of an imagined future America where Manhattan has become a giant prison. The entire island is cut off from the outside world by towering steel walls, and anyone thrown in there is never allowed to leave. When a terrorist group hijacks the plane carrying the US president and crashes it into that death zone, the government is forced to choose the most reckless person for an impossible mission: infiltrate the hell and bring the president back alive. The chosen one is Snake Plissken. a condemned ex-soldier, cold, gruff, and utterly distrustful of any institution. He has two choices: go in and save the man or die. But upon setting foot in Manhattan, Snake discovers the city is no longer a place for humans. Only savage gangs, madmen, and a new order built on violence and betrayal remain. John Carpenter didn't just create an action film, he crafted a political nightmare. With a budget of only $6 million, he turned abandoned buildings into a decaying New York shrouded in smoke ruins and flickering lights. Beneath its sci-fi veneer, Escape from New York is a powerful accusation a society can collapse not from war, but from indifference and corruption within itself. Upon release, the film alarmed authorities in both the West and Eastern Europe. Some countries banned it, fearing it would spark rebellion. Others condemned it for defaming America's image. But audiences saw something else. Escape from New York wasn't about the future, it was about the present. A world slowly turning into a prison that everyone had grown accustomed to living in. Banned, censored, and criticised, the film still grossed over $25 million and became an icon of rebellious cinema. Looking back now, people realise John Carpenter didn't create a fictional scenario. He merely filmed what was already happening, just decades ahead of the rest of humanity. What do you think of this film? Does it deserve to be banned, or did its banning make it legendary? Share your thoughts in the comments. 8. Scanners 1981. The first test screening of Scanners ended in absolute silence. Not because the audience disliked it, but because they were still stunned after the opening scene when a man stands up in a meeting room, stares at his opponent, and his head explodes. Blood brains and smoke rise amid screams. That wasn't just an opening, it was David Cronenberg's declaration cinema can make you feel real pain. The film tells of a group with telepathic abilities, scanners who can read minds, control and kill with their will. Michael Ironside and Stephen Lack play two opposing forces. One wants to destroy humanity, the other tries to stop him. But as the story deepens, audiences realise it's not just about superpowers, but about dark medical experiments where governments and corporations turn humans into weapons. With a mere $4.1 million budget, Cronenberg created effects so horrifyingly real that audiences believed in the blood, the explosions, the fear. Theatres received countless complaints and authorities in many countries reacted fiercely. Some European nations banned it outright, deeming the head explosion scene too real to be safe. The UK cut nearly all torture and surgery scenes, while Germany refused distribution due to hints evoking Nazi past. But what made Scanners haunting wasn't the gore, but the question Cronenberg raised: if governments can control minds, are we still human? Beneath the horror lies fear of corporate power, pharmaceuticals and technology invading human bodies. A chilling prophecy for the biotech era. The film earned just $14 million, but on video it became a phenomenon. Those too scared to watch passed around copies, and Scanners went from a banned film to a body horror monument. Today, people look back and realise Cronenberg didn't just make a scary movie. He painted the future where human bodies and minds no longer belong to themselves. Does this film make you see society or yourself differently? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more cinematic stories. 7. Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior 1981. Imagine living in a world where law has vanished, where a tank of gas is worth more than a human life, and a single wrong glance can get you killed in the scorching desert. No cities, no government, just dust, steel and blood. That's the world of The Road Warrior, where Mel Gibson, as Max, a lone wanderer, roams in his interceptor car across an endless wasteland searching for a bit of fuel, a shred of humanity's remaining hope. George Miller created that nightmare with just $4 million, but with real sweat, sand and blood. No special effects, no staged fakery. Every crash, chase and explosion was real. The action was so intense that several actors nearly died. That raw reality made the film too dangerous. New Zealand banned it, fearing it would incite biker gangs. Sweden cut 10 minutes of violence, and UK police accused it of promoting crime. But what made The Road Warrior most terrifying was its idea human civilization is one energy crisis away from collapse. When fuel runs dry, morality evaporates, and humans revert to primal instincts, killing to live, stealing to survive. George Miller didn't just make an action film, he crafted a legend of a post-apocalyptic world that audiences both loved and feared. Upon release, it grossed $36 million, saving the Mad Max franchise and defining the post-apocalyptic aesthetic for pop culture. Torn leather, shaved heads, metal, and roaring engines like humanity's dying screams. Today, The Road Warrior feels timeless. It's not just a survival chase, but a cold warning about the future one day, when fuel runs out and greed overtakes reason. We'll be the ones crashing into each other in a sea of fire, fighting for the last scraps of a civilization once called black gold. Dare to rewatch this film today when it feels more real than ever? If so, leave a comment to let us know. 6. Strange Days, 1995. Have you ever watched this film? If you have, you likely remember the haunting opening scene, a first-person view of a fleeing robber panting, panicking, then suddenly falling from a rooftop to the ground. The screen goes black, and you realise it wasn't footage but a memory. A stolen memory recorded and sold to someone else like a commodity. Catherine Bigelow called it the future of pleasure, but Strange Days turned it into a nightmare. Ralph Fiennes plays Lenny Nero, a memory smuggler selling brain recordings that let people relive others' sensations. Buyers can feel everything: joy, fear, death, even the thrill of a rape. Not on a screen, but in their heads. Not imagined, but real. Bigelow didn't make a film to please audiences. She used her lens like a mirror, reflecting humanity's dark side. Strange Days forces viewers to face a brutal question: if you could relive any moment, even a crime, how long could you resist experiencing it? But it was the truth the film exposed that led to its bans. When a scene showed white police killing a black activist on screen, many countries banned it outright. The UK cut all rape scenes. Germany refused distribution, and Australia banned it entirely. Even in the US, theatres hesitated because the film hit society's rawest nerve: violence, racism, and police power. With a $42 million budget, Strange Days grossed under $8 million, but time restored its justice. Bigelow didn't make a film about technology, she made one about humans. About a society addicted to thrills, images, and others' pain. Looking back, we see ourselves glued to screens, living in endless information flows, thinking we're watching, but actually being consumed. Have you seen this film? Did it scare, thrill, or make you reflect? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 5. Akira, 1988. Like many worldwide, you probably thought Akira was just a cartoon for kids when you first saw it. But minutes in that illusion shatters. A nuclear explosion obliterates a city. Neo-Tokyo rises from ashes, dazzling yet rotting, where skyscrapers sway on the edge of power and chaos. Underground teenage bikers race through neon light, screaming into the night as if trying to drown out a decaying society's cries. The story starts with an accident, but quickly becomes a tragedy for a generation. Kaneda and Tetsuo, two friends, two lost souls, are swept into a government's psychic experiment conspiracy. When supernatural power awakens in Tetsuo, it doesn't just make him lose control, it turns him into a monster of the very experiments humans thought they controlled. The city burns, and Akira poses a haunting question. What happens when knowledge outstrips morality? Katsuhiro Otomo worked a miracle with $10 million, a staggering sum for animation then. Over 160,000 hand-drawn frames, every detail stunned Western audiences. Akira wasn't a cartoon, but a declaration that animation could touch the scariest truth: humans with their ambition and power are the real threat to the world. Censorship boards didn't see it that way. Eastern Europe banned it, fearing it would spark youth rebellion. The UK denied certification due to child torture images. Germany demanded cuts to scenes about corruption and oppression. A cartoon became a political threat, but that didn't stop Akira. Bootleg copies and secret bar screenings spread it worldwide like an unquenchable cultural flame. Today, Akira is hailed as a masterpiece that ushered in a new era for animation and sci-fi cinema. But in 1988, it was a censor's nightmare. A work daring to say that when knowledge and power fall into the wrong hands, the world will explode like Neo Tokyo that night. Does this film make you question the real world you live in? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more. 4. They Live, 1988. John Carpenter never feared challenging power, but They Live was his boldest move and cost him dearly. In 1988, amid Reagan's America of rampant ads, TV, and faith in the capitalist dream, Carpenter released a seemingly crazy story. Aliens have taken over Earth, living among humans disguised as the elite, and they control humanity through advertising. Roddy Piper, a pro wrestler in his first lead role, plays Nada, a homeless man who finds a pair of sunglasses. When he puts them on, he sees the real world behind the illusion. Glittering billboards are just commands to obey, consume, sleep. The powerful politicians, businessmen, media are all aliens draining humanity's soul through greed and submission. Carpenter made the film with a B-movie. Look, $3 million budget, simple effects, satirical style. But beneath the action was a stab at capitalism's heart. He turned logos, ads, and TV things people trusted into tools of enslavement. For an industry thriving on sponsorship and ads, this message was like shooting Hollywood itself. Upon release, many theatre chains refused to screen They Live despite positive audience feedback. Some studio executives tried to persuade Carpenter to change it. Make the aliens flesh-eating monsters don't touch capitalism. He refused. The result: slashed promotion. Limited release and bans in some countries for sensitive political content. Early critics mocked it as a cheap action flick, with a message too complex to believe, but slowly realised that simplicity made it dangerous. What made They Live most controversial wasn't the aliens but the humans, those who chose illusion over truth. Carpenter implied that poverty, homelessness, and unemployment weren't accidents, but deliberate system products designed to maintain power for the ruling class. With just $13 million in revenue, it found life on home video as an underground phenomenon. The line "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum" became a rebellion icon, and Nada's glasses a lasting metaphor for seeing the world's true face. Today, They Live is seen as one of the sharpest political satires ever made. A work daring to say the invaders aren't from space, but sit in offices on TV and in the ads we watch daily. If you were a censor, then would you allow this film? Comment I'd screen it or I'd ban it to see which side wins. 3. Videodrome, 1983. If one day you fell into a TV screen and realised it was watching you, not the other way around, what would you do? In an era when TV was every home's centre, David Cronenberg posed a question that chilled Hollywood: what happens if the images we watch don't just affect the mind, but change the human body? That question birthed Videodrome, one of the most banned, feared, and misunderstood films in cinema history. James Woods plays Max Wren, a TV station director, exploiting violence and sex to hook viewers. One day he discovers a mysterious broadcast called Videodrome, showing real torture and murder with haunting realism. The more he watches, the more addicted he becomes. But then, Max realizes what he's airing isn't just images, It's a signal that restructures the brain, altering viewers' bodies and minds. His body betrays him. A strange slit appears in his stomach where videotapes are inserted, turning him into a living broadcast machine, half human, half signal. Cronenberg didn't make a film to scare. He created a flesh-driven delirium where the line between human and technology blurs. With effects, Master Rick Baker's skin melted, like wax cameras grew from flesh and body. Transformations chilled audiences for being too real, too close. When Videodrome premiered, some theatres halted screenings due to fainting viewers. Parts of Australia banned it outright, while the UK and Germany cut most scenes linking violence and sex. Yet beneath the gruesome surface was a prophetic message. Media doesn't just reflect reality, it shapes perception, emotions, and desires. When audiences indulge in extreme images, they're no longer viewers, but part of a machine-controlled, programmed, unaware. Cronenberg called it humanity's new evolution where flesh and signal merge. With a $5.9 million budget, Videodrome flopped, earning just $2.1 million. But time turned it legendary. What Cronenberg imagined in 1983 is now real humans glued to screens, addicted to virtual emotions, letting technology shape thoughts and fears. Today, Videodrome isn't just a body horror film, but a digital age prophecy. A world where we don't know who controls whom. We watch screens, or screens watch us. What do you think of this film? Share your thoughts in the comments. 2. A Clockwork Orange 1971 80s revival. 10 years after its debut, A Clockwork Orange returned to theatres, and immediately the UK plunged into panic. Not because the film was new, but because it never stopped being terrifying. Stanley Kubrick, master of dreams turned nightmares, created a world where violence is staged like a symphony and evil is performed with chilling beauty. Malcolm McDowell plays Alex DeLarge, a brilliant, charming, utterly ruthless teenager. He leads a gang roaming the city, beating and singing, raping and reciting poetry. All unfolds to Beethoven's music, horrifying yet mesmerizing viewers. When caught, Alex becomes a test subject in a psychological reform program, forced to watch violence while drugged, learning to fear his own desires. But it raises a worse question. If humans lose the ability to choose between good and evil, are they still human? When re-released in the 80s, public reaction exceeded all predictions. UK press called it a cursed film. Critics debated whether it incited or condemned violence. A string of crimes were blamed on copycat. Alex and Kubrick received death threats. Exhausted by the outrage, he personally asked Warner Brothers to pull the film from UK theatres, a ban lasting nearly 3 decades until after his death in 1999. Not just in the UK, many countries deemed A Clockwork Orange cultural poison. South Africa, Singapore, Malaysia, Spain, Brazil, all banned or heavily censored its violent and sexual scenes. In Canada, some regions banned video distribution for threatening public morality. But what kept the film alive beyond bans was its question: is coerced reform any different from stripping free will? Kubrick crafted a future both absurd and terrifying, where humans are controlled by mechanical morality and goodness is imposed as punishment. Despite years in censorship's shadow, A Clockwork Orange became a cultural phenomenon. From fashion to music to cinema, Alex's bowler hat and white cane became icons of rebellion and, ironically, stolen freedom. Today, viewers rewatch not just to shudder at violence, but to see themselves in a world still trying to fix humans to fit so-called social order. Dare to rewatch this film today? If so, let us know in the comments. 1. Brazil, 1985. If Orwell wrote 1984 with a pen, Terry Gilliam turned it into a nightmare with images. Brazil is a story of a world where everything works and nothing works right. A society run by papers, stamps, and dutifully inhumane bureaucrats. There, a typo can kill, A report can change fates and kindness becomes a crime. Jonathan Pryce plays Sam Lowry, an ordinary clerk in that vast machine. By day, he drowns in endless paperwork. By night, he dreams of flying above bleak buildings to save a mysterious woman. But when Sam stumbles into an administrative error, causing an innocent's death, he's swept into a cycle of torture, surveillance, and legalized madness. Brazil isn't sci-fi, it's a magnified mirror of the real world where people die for following procedure. Gilliam made the film with $15 million and a dreamer's audacity amid pragmatic Hollywood. Every frame is a labyrinth, pipes, papers, machines, people, all tangled like the system it mimics. The result is a world both absurd and familiar, making viewers laugh in horror. Universal Pictures. The distributor panicked. They wanted a happy ending, turning the political work into a romantic tale. Gilliam refused. The battle between director and studio lasted over a year, becoming Hollywood legend. Gilliam secretly screened the original for critics, and when they voted, Brazil, Best Film of 1985, Universal had to yield. But even then, many countries banned or heavily cut it for being anti-government or defaming administrative systems. What made Brazil terrifying wasn't torture, but its cold logic. The government isn't cruel, just highly efficient. Gilliam dared suggest modern democracies differ from dictatorships only in their mask, that bureaucracy and surveillance control people more subtly than force. Upon release, Brazil earned under $10 million, partly due to poor promotion, partly because audiences didn't know what they were watching: a dark comedy, a political nightmare, or both. But time made it a masterpiece. Directors from Guillermo del Toro to Bong Joon-ho cite Brazil as their greatest inspiration for dystopian worlds. Today, in an era of surveillance data and endless procedures, Brazil is no longer fiction. It's prophecy. A world where machines and rules in the name of safety crush human souls, and the scariest part is it's all legal. And so, 10 sci-fi masterpieces were once buried by governments and studios for daring to imagine futures too terrifying to face. From Carpenter's anti-capitalist Aliens to Cronenberg's media addiction. From Brazil's bureaucratic nightmare to Videodrome's diseased virtual world. They're not just films, but prophecies. They foresaw the reality we live in, where technology, power, and fear unite to control humans. So what's scarier? The films that exposed the truth, or a world trying to silence them? If you believe banned films are where truth is revealed, like, share and subscribe to explore more works that dared challenge the world.